Just to go through these two lineups. Gigot at fullback, Broughton, Dupont, Morrow, Richards, Carney and Albert.
Hold the 10, wait,
the Catalan Dragons in the forwards, Dave Taylor, Eloy Pellissier, Remy Casti, Louis Anderson, Glenn Stewart, and Jason Vitieri. And on the bench, Busquet, Muniz, Anthony Maria and Thomas Bosk. And then whole Kingston Rovers. Webster had to make one or two adjustments because of more injuries. Matty Marsh at fullback, Ken Seo. Chris Clarkson lining up in the centres, which is quite a novelty for him. Ian Thornley, Joe Wardill, and there is no Terry Camptesi, only just back in the side, but the decision made not to risk him for this one. It's a lot to ask now. He's just back in action after that long-term knee problem. So it's Blair and Kelly, then Tills, Sean Lunt, Adam Walker, James Donaldson, James Greenwood and Robbie Mulhern. And then on the bench you've got George Lawler, Kevin Laroyer back on home turf, as is John Budebza and James Green. And it's Catalan Dragons in possession and really looking to pick themselves up after that defeat by Wakefield. That Jacob Miller drop goal, Pat Richards missing the penalty. What a chance that was. 14-0 up and they blew it.
Well, for players like Dave Taylor, who's got the ball at the minute, they'll know that they got themselves in front and didn't have the right mentality to bring that game home. I was talking to a couple of the coaches from Catalans after the match, and they were saying how disappointed the changing room was. They knew they were a better side than what they'd showed, and they'd look to rectify that this week.
But this is important for Hull Kingston Rovers early on here, because Catalan are looking to start with a bit of pace to really make a mark in this game. Glenn Stewart involved, and Rovers have really got to be tight, be firm and try and keep it at bay, as Ken Seo does well to claim that high kick.
Good take, confident take, and it's at this part of the pitch that the Dragons make you really work hard. It was a huge kick and Seo took it, but look at the compressed defence from the Dragons. And Hull and Robins have gone bit. They've got Rob Mulhern, who's a middle unit man, he's a front rower by trade. They've named him at loose forward, so they're trying to go big. They're trying to make sure they're not dominated in the middle of the park.
And they're hoping, in fact, that in a way Chris Clarkson in the centres will help there, because I mean Dupont and Horrow are a pretty big combination. So Clarkson and Thornley, at least you've got a bit of bulk there. You might not have got the agility or the fancy footwork, but you've got some size.
Well, Chris Clarkson's a very competent rugby player. He's very effective in everything he does. He made his debut when he was a Leeds player against Wigan as a winger. Now he's nowhere near a winger, but he was a back as a younger player. He's not blessed with pace, but he's got smart decision making, and I think defensively he'll be okay as he misses a tackle.
Well, he comes back though to bring Gigot down.
I think defensively he'll be okay. He might be missing a yard of pace, but I think his smarts will make up for that.
Here's Dave Taylor, and Taylor building up ahead is Steve, and Taylor gets the ball to Dupont. Dupont has got some support, but that's great defence. Man taken out off the ball. It was Pellissier who was in support, and James Child saw that.
Correct call from James Child. It was a heck of a hit from Matthew Marsh on Vincent Dupont when he brought the line. He looked certain that he was going to score. The big man Dave Taylor, striding here as he has done, offloads the ball, and Vincent Dupont, he can't get the ball to the supporting player, but what a hit from Matthew Marsh.
It was James Greenwood who was penalised, and Catalan from this penalty are in for the first try of the game, and they'll go to Jody Broughton, and Rovers paying the price. And maybe Greenwood didn't need to make that tackle, because, as you'd said, the move had been stopped, as it was that conceded the penalty, and Broughton gets the try. Catalan, what Rovers feared has happened.
Well, I'm sure when we take a look at the break again, we'll talk about Vincent Dupont. We watch every single game that the Dragons play at home, and he's not a noted ball player, Vincent Dupont. He's been known a time or two to stick hold of that ball, but from that field position, from that penalty, the ruthless Catalan Dragons, they make the Robins pay. And it's Jody Broughton, who's loving his time in the south of France, that dabbed the ball down for the Dragons, but really it was put on a plate when that penalty was given away by the big fella James Greenwood. Here we go, we'll have a look at it again. He's never in a million years going to pass that ball.
And did he really need to interfere there? Because if he hadn't, the tackle, Marsh had made a cracking tackle to stop Dupont. It's hypothetical.
It's difficult, and James Greenwood's probably looking at the devil and the deep blue sea, thinking, well, which is the best one to be guilty of.
So Broughton with the try, his 16th of the season. He's the Dragons' top try scorer in his first season with the club. Now then, Pat Richards, he missed that penalty that would have won the game probably for Catalan in Newcastle, and he's back on target with that one.
Well, this is a shot across the bow of the Rovers. If they give possession and field position to a side like this, there's a lovely last pass from Sonny Gigot, who just commits the winger, a double pump, leaves Joe Wardle no chance whatsoever of making that a correct decision, and it's first points to the Dragons.
And Hull Kingston Rovers know how devastating this Catalan Dragons attack can be, because back in Hull earlier in the season, Catalan put 40 points on Rovers without reply. They were in that sort of mood.
Sorry, Bill, it was the same game. It was 28 points to nil at half time, so the start is crucial against Catalan. They've got that big rumble impact, and that allows players like Eloi Pellissier a quick speedy ruck, and then they're poking and prodding and trying to find something, and penalties won't help you.
Rovers desperately trying to slow things down, stop the Dragons building up head of steam. The sun might be shining in Blackpool at the Summer Bash. It's cloudy and muggy really in Perpignan.
There's a cloud over the defence of Hull at the minute. They can't afford to get things like that wrong. You need good contact, you need good control, and you need to control the speed that the Dragons play the ball at. And they're doing that, and they're getting penalised for it. Michael Monaghan, Jérôme Guisset barking out orders.
Big task for this Hull KR team to back up after what was a really disappointing Magic weekend, emotionally as much as anything else. Then to travel to the south of France and face, well, arguably the best Catalan Dragons team in its 10th incarnation.
And they're bang in front of the post. Jason Baitieri plays the ball. They're looking for more points here. Carney juggles with it. Gigot juggles with it. And they've managed to keep a hold of it, the Dragons. Carney, Jason Baitieri gets the pass away to Pellissier. Pellissier trying to break free. Good defence from Rovers. But they again are back on their own try line. Greenwood it was who made the tackle. Little grubber kick goes in, and Ken Seo will try and get out of trouble, but there's a wall of Dragons players to prevent him.
Really smart option by the Dragons then. The defensive line of Robbins was up nice and tight, there was no space, the opportunity was out the back, and Todd Carney puts it in that danger area and challenges Ken Seo. Get out, here's the offload. Baitieri, he's got that in his game, and he lies on the support play of Pellissier, Tony Gigot. We'll see that develop throughout the afternoon.
There's also there's a real patience about the way the Catalan Dragons play now, perhaps something that you'd not seen often enough in previous years. We all liked the flair, the abilities of, well, individuals like Dave Taylor you see on your screen, but I think in Todd Carney they've found someone who's prepared to go through the slow strangle rather than the fireworks from play one.
But it's Catalan dominating possession so far. 8.5 minutes gone, they've already got points on the board, and Lucas Albert can't take that pass, and Chris Clarkson picks up free play. It was forward from Clarkson to Kelly, but they'll come back.
It's a shame that. Love watching Albert Kelly in the clear. Got a good instinct and speed to burn. It's a nice passage of play with the skill, just lets them down a little bit, and Chris Clarkson picks it up, puts it back inside to Albert Kelly, and the smile on the face, that tells 1,000 words. You've got me.
No Terry Campese for Hull Kingston Rovers, just back from that knee injury, and James Webster saying that it's a lot to ask of somebody who's just come through the sort of recovery that he's had.
And there might be people that raise their eyebrows about that. I think with players of that age, of that standard, you need to manage the body, you need to manage the workload. And sometimes when the ACL is repaired, sometimes they take it from the patella, sometimes they take it from the hamstring, and that can create a weakness somewhere in the body. Good defence by the Dragons again.
It wouldn't surprise me if there was a story that isn't published. Terry Campese, when you undergo such a lengthy period of rehabilitation, it's inevitable that other areas, your hip alignment, how everything else works with the hamstrings, the calves, that there may be another little issue that's developed there over time. But they need him back on the field too, because yet another kick overcooked by Albert Kelly.
Well, in all probability, they'll have him back in action for Wakefield on Thursday. A game you can see on Sky Sports Thursday night. But Terry Campese sitting this one out. And Catalan in possession, and Dupont plays the ball. Jason Baitieri, really aggressive player, only knows one way, and that is the direct approach. Very little subtlety. There is a bit from Glenn Stewart, and there certainly is from this man, Tony Gigot. And they're trying to keep a hold of him, but Gigo's lost that ball, and Albert Kelly can counter now for the Robins.
Well, Glenn Stewart, as he has done all year, just mopping up the mess. And we saw both sides of Tony Gigot then. Lovely balance and a mistake off the back of it.
Ian Thornley now, first opportunity for the Rovers three-quarters to get their hands on the ball, really. And Dane Tilse, Baitieri clinging on to him to stop the big man's progress. Sean Lunt, Kelly, Greenwood now, and Catalan having to do a bit of defending, and
that's an obstruction.
Well, he decided to give Greenwood an early ball, which I think was the right decision, but Greenwood went on an outward angle. A player in support going on an inward angle created the mess. There's the mistake from Tony Gigot. Our French friends think there might have been a hand in there, might just have a case, but he's a loose carrier of the ball, Tony Gigot. Very skillful player. We might get to see some input from him shortly.
Yeah, the penalty, Greenwood it was involved, and another penalty for the Catalan Dragons, allowing them to progress up the field. Pelissier having a very busy time at the moment because there's still no Paul Ayton, once again on the injury list. Doesn't have a lot of luck, the former Leeds hooker. And Lucas Albert ships the ball out wide to Horro. Horro just bumps Maurice Blair away and is then tackled about 12 metres out now. Glenn Stewart across the field. Carney, oh, that's good defence, and Taylor, wonderful ball, and Carney will finish off for a fantastic Catalan Dragons try. And that is what you get from Dave Taylor, not just brute force, but some finesse as well. And his teammates applaud the try. They congratulate Todd Carney, but they can also congratulate the Coal Train.
Well, it's Dave Taylor, but watch the involvement of Glenn Stewart. We've seen him do this a number of times. He skirts and flirts across the defenders, commits them, gives Todd Carney a ball, some time, and Todd Carney scoops it onto the big fella, and well, that's just outstanding work.
Todd Carney, the man who finishes, and he's very happy with himself. New hairstyle, I think, is indicating there what's coming next. But yeah, you're right, it's the work of Glenn Stewart, who I think you talk about the three main players there arguably in one play. Dave Taylor, who's grabbed the headline since his signing, and there's no doubt about it, he's a blockbuster with some silky hands. Todd Carney, he's the $1 million player, but Glenn Stewart's I think the most astute signing of all three, and he's provided an extra dimension, certainly in the defence, but we knew we were going to get that with him. Yeah. But as an attacking link player, I've seen that or variations of that play over the last month or so, and the deeper into the season we go, the better that gets, and the more aesthetically pleasing that is to see. Great stuff.
Pat Richards then from the other side of the posts for 2 more points for the Dragons. He's on target.
Some lovely stuff from Glenn Stewart, and I completely agree. For me, he's a front runner from Man of Steel, and me, Bill, Terry O'Connor, we watch Catalan Dragons, and sometimes we throw a Catalan name in the mix because we watch them so often, and it's purely opinion based. as such yet because it's the players that vote for it, but that man in the screen just at the top, Glenn Stewart, does every aspect, every facet of the game. He's probably 8 or 9 out of 10, and then putting that the extra effort and the work ethic he's got, he's a fantastic player.
On his 4th try of the season, and he's having, by his standards, a fantastic run of action. When you think that he only played 12 times all last year.
Well, that's something you don't see very often. So it's Dave Taylor up against Albert Kelly, and he's done him, I think. He's all-manned him. One-on-one strip, play on, Hull KR ball. Now, what do you do if you're a Hull KR half-back here? You've built no territory or possession, and you've been gifted.
Let's see what they can come up with now. Here's Thornley, and Thornley, well, Joe Wardell was steaming up, hoping Thornley could get a hand free. No chance of that, but chances here for the Robins. It's with Lawler on the field already, and now Adam Walker.
Get square.
Lunt down the short side. And they might have an opportunity here with Donaldson. And Justin Horrow having to make the tackle. Thornley. Blair puts the kick in. It's still on the last, and it's going to be picked. Oh dear me! And that's the sort of lackadaisical play that you sometimes get from the Catalan Dragons. Louis Anderson failing to pick that ball up, and as it is, Rovers get another set of 6, and Lunt could profit here. Great opportunity for them to come bouncing back. Here's George Lawler. James Webster throwing him into action early on here. But Catalan back on their own try line. Oh, the knock on there.
Well, that's a shame from young George Lawler. Trying to enjoy some possession and some position. And for the Hull KR side, they can't afford to give possession away. They can't afford, when they're in position like this with an opportunity, they can't afford. And it's George Lawler who ends up with the ball all tangled up with arms and legs everywhere.
You just got to be more ruthless, I'm afraid, because those opportunities are going to come against, albeit a much improved Dragons team in terms of discipline with the ball. You're going to, as Bill rightly said, you're going to get those little lapses in concentration from them, and you are going to get chances to put some pressure on them. So to give them up in such an easy way and not make the Dragons work and sweat in defence is only going to mean a lot more hard work for you later on in the game.
I agree that they are a bit more hard-nosed this season. I think we saw that from round 1, but they're still prone to these little flights of fancy.
And that's why you've got to take advantage. You have got to be ruthless. You've got to stamp on the throat, figuratively, when you get that opportunity, and be as professional as you can be. Because if you don't, there's enough firepower in this Catalans Dragon side to make it a very, very long afternoon.
2 18-year-olds in the Robins three-quarters, and that's one of them, Matty Marsh, who was fielding that ball. Wardell is another of them. It is a pretty green, well, in parts green. There's 1 or 2 fairly ripe players as well out there. Dane Tills, 31 years of age. But they are learning the hard way. There is Tills taking them over the halfway line, and Lunt, he's got bags of experience. Here's Thornley. Thornley gets the pass away, does well. Donaldson keeps it going. Lunt over the top, and Broughton will snap it off, and Broughton has got the pace, but the cover is there. It's Thornley, I think, coming back to make the tackle. Did well there, because Broughton, if he'd got the opportunity, would have been gone.
Too loose from Sean Lunt. He should know better than that. Very experienced player. He thinks he sees a teammate in space, and Geordie Broughton on another day, he'd have scored that.
Bousquet is on the field and making inroads to the Rovers defence. We could get a bit of a points fest here. We could get some more points here. A little kick ahead, and it's Richards who dots it down, but no, Duport is penalised for his shove there.
Did Duport tackle the player before he had hold of the ball?
Well, I think there's a double error from Vincent Duport there, because I think the right play at the point of the kick was to draw the defender at this point here, and draw the defender Seo and pass to Richards, who goes ahead, and then he's got the push in the back on Ken Seo as well, which is what I think the penalty is for. Yeah, there you go, fairly clear from the second angle. Richards denied a try, the right decision. Just going back to what was happening before Lund overplayed and gave the offload away, the one area where Hull KR were looking to get some joy, late offloads. It's something that's popped into their game and has crept into little chinks in this Catalan armoury. And when you combine that with what they're giving up in terms of ill-disciplined defence, that there's perhaps more than a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel for Hull KR.
Well, Rovers missing some of their big, in terms of physical stature players, and they're not going to bully this Catalan side, are they? So is the alternative to give it some width and see if they can beat Catalan at their own game?
They've just got to be smart and they've got to be patient, because they are, but when you get these opportunities, as we say, you've got to be more ruthless and more clinical with them. There's still the personnel on the field there, despite those big names that aren't playing, to really ask some serious questions of this Catalan defence.
Or can they pose a question or two now? They're in possession, midway into the Catalan half, and Kelly avoids Greenwood, it was, avoiding the tackle. Willie Mason sitting this one out, having a breather. Richie Myler an enforced breather with this groin injury that he's picked up.
You could see what Hull KR were trying to do. They took it left, switched it back across the play of the ball, and then back inside. They're looking for some of the bigger units, the Busquets, the Castis, the Taylors of this world, to work, shift, come back and make defensive decisions under pressure and under fatigue.
And the question I would ask myself at this point, a quarter of the game gone, the 2 scores down, that's it. I mean, yes, the weight and territory of possession is with the Dragons, but that was play 2. There's no pressure being developed there. There's no screw being tightened on that Catalan defence. They were let off far too easily, and that's exactly what I'm saying. This Dragons team now have the firepower that if you're not going to make them pay when they give you opportunities, they will when you inevitably make mistakes.
Catalan down to 4th in this topsy-turvy tangle at the top of the table. Warrington profiting at the moment. Here's Glenn Stewart at Hull, of course, looking to stay in the hunt. Catalan looking to stay in the hunt. Somebody said something, I think.
Maurice Blair, he's trying to control Glenn Stewart. Has he said something else? Too much talking at the minute going and directed at the referees.
Yeah, it's crept back into the game, hasn't it, unfortunately.
Chris Clarkson, the captain's being asked to have a word with his teammates.
Well, really, I mean, there's only one way that this is going to be stopped, this. And he needs to start producing cards. Referees need to start producing cards. Ben Thaler did Thursday night in the Tigers game when Jake Webster had some words to say to him at half-time. You know, it needs a little bit of consistency applied, because it's not a part of the game that we enjoy to see.
Remy Casti with a typical forthright run by Thierry, Busquets, the big guns rumbling forward for the Catalan Dragons. Hull Kingston Rovers manning the barricades. Pelissier, wakey, Pelissier does, gets the pass away to Lucas Albert. That's wonderful skill from the youngster, and another try for the Catalan Dragons. And 17-year-old Lucas Albert shows the sort of talent that has got people in Perpignan very excited about his potential. And he gets his first try of the season. And a lovely dummy to set it up, and all smiles at the Stade Gilbert Brutus, at least for the Dragons.
Well, lovely stuff from the young man. It came from the quick play of the ball. Elwar Pelissier nearly fluffed his lines, he put it behind. I think it's Anderson who goes through.
That was the line from Anderson which really ruined that defence.
The disjointed defensive line with people trying to fix what hasn't happened. Albert Kelly can't control, can't effect the tackle. Lovely stuff from the young halfback. That'll do his confidence the world of good.
And the man he went to congratulate first was Louis Anderson. I think he realised the effect that effort off the ball had made. It really opened up some space for the young Frenchman. It's exciting times, isn't it, down in the south of France? It's a stadium, the increasing support numbers in their 10th season. There really was a feeling at the start of 2016 that this could be really something special. Not just the 10th anniversary, but with the statement, the intent they made for the signings, Pat Richards being one, of course, that this was going to be the year of the Dragon.
But for Hull Kingston Rovers, well, Maurice Blair penalised, and then we think saying something that James Child took exception to. Oh, and he's done it again. Richards misses for the first time.
Well, Pat Richards, I can't remember seeing Pat Richards miss so many kicks at goal. Must have his boots on the wrong way round.
Since they brought him back, I mean, you look at that as a sign, as a group of signings, and you look at Pat Richards and you say, right, one of the main reasons you sign Pat Richards is when 4-pointers scored by people like that, they're converted into 6 points 9 times out of 10. Loving the woodwork at the moment, though.
Well, he kicked 7 from 8 against the Huddersfield Giants when they won at the John Smith Stadium. On his day, he's still an absolute dynamite kicker, but you know, 5th on the all-time Super League points chart. Just a bit wayward in the last couple of weeks. And it cost them in Newcastle. Whether it'll cost them against Hull Kingston Rovers, well, time will tell. They lead by 16 points to 0. Hull Kingston Rovers could do with some time in possession just to stop the Dragons making relentless progress up the field. Here's Baitieri now.
Bill, it's at this point in the game when the sting's gone out of it a little bit. You've caught your breath, you're waiting for that second wind that people talk about, where your lapses in concentration, they affect the way that you play the game and the decisions that you make. Matthew Marsh allows that ball, uses that rule to perfection. And they need to get hold of the ball, they need to enjoy knocking some sets out, getting into the grind, as the coaches like to term, and keeping the discipline when they haven't got it.
They can't walk before they can't run before they walk, or maybe they can. Sio straight through.
Ken Sio, one man to beat, and Gigo manages to stop his opposite number, but Kelly is unable to make rapid progress. It's good work from Lucas Albert, but here is Thornley now, and Thornley goes on the outside of Carnley and back on the inside of Broughton. Great work from Thornley and a great try. And Kevin Leroyer, just off the bench, back on familiar ground, comes back with a try for Hull Kingston Rovers. Leroyer's first try of the season, the former Catalan Dragons player who went to Hull Kingston Rovers looking for regular first-team football, is back to inflict some pain on his former club.
Got a lot of time for Ian Thornley. I sometimes watch a game of rugby league that Hull KR are playing in, and I want to see more of him. I want to see more of this footwork, killer instinct, makes good decisions, Ian Thornley, but it came from that break, that midfield break. We're only talking a second or two before that about enjoying possession, not taking too much risk, possibly getting to the end of the set, getting a kick away. Hull KR, they don't seem to follow that script, do they?
It was the walk before you could run. A little diatribe I was going to offer up to you, and then Ken Sio went and split the defence in two. This is what we were talking about before, wasn't it? About the opportunities that the Catalan Dragons will still give you, because they're not the finished article yet. They're a vast improvement on previous years, but there's still enough there if other teams want it to go at you.
Just saw a glimpse of Mick Monaghan, one of Laurent Fraisino's coaching assistants, pretty animated with the Dragons players. Well, he might be, because that was pretty slapdash from them. And Sio goals, 16 points to 6 in Perpignan.
Well, Michael Monaghan might be having a slight case of deja vu. Last week against Wakefield, they raced out into a lead, they got 3 tries on the board, and then Wakefield came back. And it was an incredible game, probably the game of the weekend for me, but it came off the back of their mistakes.
And 2 lapses in concentration as well. One on the 40-metre mark when Ken Sio split the rock, and then one by Todd Carney. He got stood up there, he got done royally on the outside by Ian Thornley. Leroyer was on hand to profit.
Kevin Leroyer just back after lengthy time out, having had shoulder surgery. And good to see him back in action, because he's been a great acquisition for Hull Kingston Rovers. Amazing. Well, I mean, they've got some second rows. They're not homegrown second rows. There's a homegrown second row, and he's had to go to East Yorkshire to further his career. And
sometimes I applaud that, particularly with Frenchmen growing up in the south of France, coming through the system there and finding opportunities limited perhaps at the Catalan Dragons, being brave enough to come across. Gadwin Springer's another recent example. You go back a few years, Olivier Ellimer came and earned his stripes in the Super League in the UK.
Theo Farge is doing a great job at St Helens.
It's a brave move, and they should be commended for that. And it is. It's great to see him back.
So that try from Leroyer, Sio's conversion, that lifts Rovers' spirits and sends a warning to this Catalan Dragon side. They can't afford to be casual. if they want to be a challenger among the challengers come the end of the season, you can't afford that sort of approach.
Well, during last night's game, Phil Clark asked Terry O'Connor, what do you think's letting the side that was losing down? Was it poor defence or poor attack? And I was at home listening to it thinking, well, poor attack makes you defend more. You end up having to do more defence, so therefore your energy levels are low, and when you've got the ball, it's poor. So, in my opinion, your defence is more important, and your attack needs to be slick, as we see a penalty for a late challenge on a kicker.
Yeah, Carney was hit late. James Childs saw that, and Hull Kingston Rovers could be about to undo all the good work they've just done at the other end of the field.
What the Dragons don't want to be seen as is tough and scaly and hard on the outside, but with a soft underbelly, and that's what we've seen just creeping into the last couple of results. Wakefield managed to get in there close and inflict some damage, and those early signs there that Hull KR, given the opportunities, there are enough chinks in this armour still.
But that penalty for the late challenge on Carney could be costly. That's good defence on Horrow. It was Thornley upending him. Here is Glenn Stewart. Stewart's tackled on the 10-metre line. Greg Muniz is on the field, and the change is being rung because Tomáš Bosk is out there as well. Anthony Maria. Maria legs driving. Is eventually held, says referee James Child. Bosk is there. Bosk might fancy it himself, but hasn't got the strength to get over. He's held up.
Dragons applying the pressure. The Robins up to it, as we say regularly. You can't afford to keep defending, spending all that energy.
Little kick. Oh, Joe Wardiel has almost made a dreadful mess of that. Glenn Stewart couldn't get a hand to the ball, and that's an escape for the Rovers.
Well, I could hear in my head, to me, to you, it's yours, it's mine, and neither one of them took control.
It's a beautifully weighted kick from Todd Carney. This is what we were saying about him before. He's willing to play the long game. He's more patient than you came across with such a reputation, and being box office and fireworks every time he got the ball. I don't see that in him. I see a more cultured, developed side of his game, where he's in there and he'll come in, apply the pressure, crank it up, keep the mistakes out, because that's one thing this Catalan Dragons side don't tend to do, and that's error in possession in the opposition's half. They've been very good, very clinical when they've had their opportunities.
Here is Vincent Dupont, and Dupont, very direct running centre. There was only one thing on his mind there, and that was to take on the Hull Kingston Rovers defenders. Lucas Albert, it's worked once for him, couldn't get past Lawler on that occasion. Tomáš Bosk, Carney fires the pass out. Gigot ducks under one challenge from Leroyer. Bit of footwork from Gino. Finds Muniz. And Lucas Albert. That's good work from Albert Kelly. But they're not done with here. And Louis Anderson strolls in for another Catalan Dragons try. And that was a patient build-up from the Dragons. And Louis Anderson gets his 5th try of the season. Really popular figure, and that'll just enhance his popularity. Beautiful stuff.
We've been talking about Todd Carney and his patience in possession. Tony Gigot follows his half-back's lead, just draws the man. It's Chris Clarkson who's not allowed to push on to the next player, and then Louis Anderson, who's in the next hole, profits from that.
And I've been waiting 25 minutes to say a little bit about this man. Tony Gigot supplies the try-scoring pass. Very often you'll start talking about how good this individual is, and then he'll have a brain explosion at the end of a mazy run, or
he's still going to have a brain explosion probably in the next 5 minutes, but for now we'll enjoy that.
I mean, when you look at prospects and about, you look at stars, we talk about Todd Carney, don't we, and about Glenn Stewart, and these have been the finished articles. When I look at Tony Gigot and you see the potential where he is now and the potential that this man has, it's scary. Great ball, by the way, is what I was trying to say.
Beautiful stuff. You see David Hodgson saying to the Hull KR players, feeding some information, and I'm sure that's about lack of composure while in possession, about playing the game down at the other end of the pitch, or players of vast experience and quality will make you pay.
And you've got to come here with a game plan, because it's a very, very difficult place to come and play. Richards addressing the ball, attack on the 2. It had a bend on it, but it was good enough, I think.
Once again, we don't actually see the flags go up, but judging by the response, Richards has succeeded with that conversion.
Had a late pull on it, but we might need to...
I'm going to say oui.
Oh, now then.
Oh, well then. No, I'll still say oui.
What's happened there? We get
Waved
the flags
away.
waved away. Richards misses again.
No.
Your French is really coming on, isn't it?
Merci.
20 points to 6
C'est bien.
in Perpignan.
Multi-talented me, John.
So Pat Richards has missed the last couple, I think. Yep, failed to convert Lucas Albert's try, and he's failed to goal that
The point I was making just before Pat Richards fooled us all with his banana kick was, as a team, you do need to come down here with a very detailed game plan of what you are going to do. It's a ground and a pitch and an environment like no other really that anybody sees in Super League. Add to that the travel and the way that the week is disrupted. It's very easy to be distracted, so you've got to have a very clear set of instructions from your coach and be able to execute that. Keeping that in the front of your mind when you're facing up to the likes of Taylor and Horrow and this man Stewart, who's simply been outstanding this year. It's quite a tough ask.
Well, he left Leroyer on the deck there with that run, and then that's just a little bit too strong.
Bill, they hurt your pride then when a bloke runs into your front on and you can't keep your feet. Leroyer on home turf, as we've said, spent the early part of his career at professional level at this club, and Glenn Stewart's just knocked him on his backside.
So much for my champion, the French second rower. He's just been flattened by the Australian second rower. There's Maurice Blair, Kelly. Tough times for Hull Kingston Rovers, trying to avoid involvement in the middle eights, but knowing that they've got to be picking up points in these next few weeks if they can do that, because Wakefield coming up. That's a massive game on Thursday night. Here they are now with Thornley.
He's been a danger, hasn't he? He's been a handful on that Catalans right edge defence. They're trying to marshal and keep Todd Carney away from as much of the big impact stuff as they can. That's one area that has been working a little for Hull KR. It's a poor end to a set again,
I think that's the third time I've seen that, which makes me think what they're trying to do is slow the pace of the game down, get it out of back play. They can walk to the defensive position, and Catalan don't have chance to gain some momentum from a kick return.
Yeah, they've got a formidable back three, haven't they? Gigo's great on his feet. Richards, we've just seen, great straight line runner. This man's very strong in contact. But as a game plan, you know, it's got to come in tandem with something else, hasn't it? That can't be it, because that's not going to be enough to stop these boys.
Anthony Maria, already a cup winner this season. Anthony Maria, member of the Sant-Esteve Tresa Catalan side that won the French Cup when they beat Limoux. The ball.
Is that a knock on?
Well,
Glenn Stewart lost control out of it, but maybe battered it back.
He was trying for the quick hands. Didn't quite come off, but they're spreading it right to left this time. I love Louis Anderson.
Louis Anderson rumbling up the middle and gets the pass away to Gigo, and Gigo will get another try for the Catalan Dragons. But great work from Louis Anderson, the man who speaks a bit of Catalan himself. And then Gigo gets his 7th of the season. He was a try scorer last weekend in that defeat against Wakefield. Could be a happier turnaround for the Dragons today.
Very confident stuff from Catalan now, from one side to the other. Louis Anderson, I'm sure if he knows you love him, John Wells, he'd be thrilled to bits with that, but I assume you mean his action.
I love his work.
The way he goes about his business. A cool, calm decision back inside to Gigo.
He's somebody who's that's the wrong word, implanted himself in French culture, enveloped himself in the French culture. And I think when you do that and you commit to a job and a role and a part of your life, I think that only means better things for you. And he's jumped in with both feet.
I'll tell you what, he's jumped in to the extent that he and Albert Bueno, the old boy who sings the song before the game, have actually recorded a version of that fantastic anthem that they sing, which is going to be released later this summer. And in all probability, Louis, with some downtime to come after this game, will be off shooting wildlife in the Pyrenees with his Catalan buddies, because that's how much he's immersed in local life. But he did 4 years at Warrington. He did a fair spell at the New Zealand Warriors, but very much at home in France. Now then, Pat Richards missed the last two. Surely not. Richards on target, and it's looking like a long haul for Hull Kingston Rovers. 26 points to 6 the score.
You look at the combinations on the left edge and the right edge, how fullbacks chime into the line. It was Tony Gigo, remember, the lovely soft hands, the delayed ball that put Louis Anderson in for the try, that the preceding try to this one, and the roles are reversed. It's Anderson who straightens up through the hole, and then Tony Gigo improving week on week in that fullback role. He's got great utility value because obviously we've seen him in the centres, but developing as a fullback now, I think raised a few eyebrows at the start of the season when Morgan Escaré was left out of the side.
It was the bigger story was Morgan Escaré wasn't there, but you almost trust the judgment of the bloke in control, and you're prepared to give Tony Gigo a chance because of his threat, because of obviously the fact that he can score a try from anywhere, and he obviously has that instinct, that poacher's instinct to get on the back of stuff.
Well, he's repaid the faith that's been shown in him, that's for sure. And they've got great strength in depth. Morgan Escaré can't get a start at the moment. That's testament not just to Tony Gigo, but the strength of the squad in general.
Catalan Dragons haven't been truly convincing at home. They scraped to win against the Huddersfield Giants last time. In fact, 16 points to 14. Yet to put a really convincing performance together at the Stade Gilbert Brutus. Unfortunately for Hull Kingston Rovers, it looks as though this might be the occasion. And points difference, the way that battle for top spot, for the top four, is shaping up, points difference is going to be a factor.
Yeah, and there's been an almighty battle going on elsewhere today between Hull FC and St Helens. There's a fairly tight match going on over at the KCOM Stadium. This is not going to be that, unfortunately, by the way that things are looking at the moment. And the Catalan Dragons, that's one element of the charge to the top of the table, or the challenge to the top of the table, you've got to take into account these days. The teams are grouped and bunched, so points difference becomes a massive issue.
Warrington did their cause a power of good with that big win over Leeds. Hull and Saints, things a lot tighter there. That ball goes backwards, and Matty Marsh is there to salvage it for Hull Kingston Rovers.
Sloppy from Laraya, sloppy. Look where they kicked from. And that's the consequence of getting that last passage of play wrong. Pat Richards, you see the halfway line approaching now.
When you're starting sets there, or to flip it over, your beginning defensive sets on the halfway line, there's trouble there, isn't there,
Hull FC beating St Helens 32-24 at the KCOM Stadium, so 2 more points for Hull. One of those clubs up at the top of the table. Catalan 2 points behind that bunch, Warrington, Hull and Wigan at the moment.
They go back into second, though, would they, arguably, if they win this afternoon, the Catalan Dragons. Points difference.
A big win, yes. Well, no, it wouldn't have to be a big one, would it? No, they would go back into second.
Well, this is interesting. I wonder whether that's why Lauren Fresnel is smiling. There's a penalty just been given away by Hull KR. Pat Richards, who's going to have a go at goal, is to try and find his groove. Looks like he's lost his mojo, and there is a couple of seconds left on the clock.
What he would have given to replay that moment at the St James's Park Magic Weekend game last weekend. Final kick it will be of this first half, which has been very satisfying for Laurent Fresnel and the Catalan Dragons. It's been pretty hard work for Hull Kingston Rovers. Richards, and it was almost identical. It was a bit further out last weekend. This time he makes no mistake, and the half ends with more points for the Catalan Dragons. 26 points to 6. They lead against Hull Kingston Rovers at half-time. In the first half, when they built up this 28 points to 6 lead, and Hull Kingston Rovers getting the second half underway in Perpignan. Good contingent of Rovers supporters there to see their side. But Anthony Maria, good strong run from this backup prop forward. This is only his 5th appearance of the season.
And straight away, right at the beginning of this second half, a couple of sloppy attempts at tackles. Penalties cost them dearly. 7-2 the penalty count against Hull KR. And they're not controlling the go forward, they're not controlling the presence and the power that the Dragons have got. And look, on tackle 3, tackle 4, they're almost on the 30-metre line.
Carney, twisted back in the tackle. He gets to his feet okay. And here is Muniz now. Greg Muniz, the Dragons' top number of appearances under his belt, plays the ball. The kick hoisted high by Carney. Oh, it's an awkward one, but very well claimed by young Marsh.
Lovely take, kept his eyes on the ball, didn't worry about what was coming at him. Got his just rewards. Really, really good take. Thomas Bosk scorching through the picture there, holding his elbow. He's coming off second best in a challenge as the Robins try and work their way out of what's a familiar looking patch of grass for them. Unfortunately, their own 20.
Greenwood plays the ball, frustrated there, felt that he was impeded. Here is Albert Kelly. Good to see him back, been back for the last 4 games after his injury problems. It seems no sooner does somebody come back for Rovers than somebody else gets crocked. And Maurice Blair, who has been a mainstay, he's been ever present in all 16 games for Hull Kingston Rovers, puts the kick in, and that's a good chase, enthusiastic.
You see how little time he had to get the kick away though. Great pressure from the Catalan Dragons. They're winning all those meaningful battles at the moment.
And that probably was due to the fact that Albert Kelly was tackled, found himself humping the ball forward. The organisation of Hull KR needs to be better.
Gigot, nowhere for him to go there. Up to halfway. And here's Muniz once more. Rovers back in defensive mode already. 4 tackles gone this set of 6 as he plays the ball. Carney, Bousquet bustling up the middle. And look at that from big Julien Bousquet, and trying to get an arm free to offload. He can't do that, but he's done a bit of damage there. Little kick into space. Ooh, and Kensio. Fingertip touch from Kensio to pick that ball up. Another of the ever-presence in this Hull Kingston Rovers side so far this season.
Tremendous stuff from big Bousquet. He scatters defenders, and you look at the time that Todd Carney has to put that kick in, places it where he wants, and that's the reason they're applying the pressure they are now.
He gets lost a little bit, doesn't he, in all the discussion about Dave Taylor and Willie Mason, these big units that they brought over. And Busquets is a formidable presence himself. And I liked off the back of the end of that run 2 years ago, you would have seen him try and force an offload there. So there's clearly a development there, personal development, and some really serious coaching that's going on that's making these guys better players.
Blair plays the ball. Kelly hoists a big kick. It's a good one, but Richards made that look so easy. Covered some ground to get to it.
It's a better one. Albert Kelly frees himself up a little bit rather than carting the ball up, because he thinks that's what his side needs. He gives himself time and space. Lofty kick. And now you feel, as Albert Kelly's left on the floor, you feel if Hull KR can make this game about kick for kick for kick, they can make a better fist of it.
Here is Dupont. Good tackle from Clarkson to stop his progress. But Catalan dominating possession at the start of this second half, and Rovers having to do a lot of tackling as Muniz plays that ball and Carney hoists the kick. It's another high one, and well dealt with by Matty Marsh once again.
Another good catch from the young man. Only had eyes for the ball, and it was a high kick again. the methodology from Catalan, low risk. Let's get to the other end of the pitch. Let's kick it high.
And how that's changed over the last year, 18 months. And there are a couple of people there that you think about who's joined this organisation. On the field, certainly the influence of Glenn Stewart, we've talked about that. But also Michael Monaghan. I think his movement from Warrington and the focus he's put on low error rates, set completion levels, giving the star-studded Catalan Dragons side the opportunities.
Kelly, Horton juggles with that one and then tries to go outside to Wardell. Well done, Joe Wardell.
Well, it was his head strapping. I thought his head had fallen off then. He picked up a bang and a knock in that game. And he came into this game with strapping around that.
I think he's picked up a bang there, Barry. He seems to be holding, just nursing shoulder, but it was a really determined effort to stop Jody Broughton. Here's Anthony Maria now. 28-6. Catalan Dragons lead. Justin Horro. It's the fifth tackle.
Good take.
Carney, nice little chip, but well read.
Good take from Carney. He manages to get the kick away. It's not the best kick.
Well, it's made into a good kick because the efforts of Glenn Stewart, and I think above everything else, they're completing the sets. They're not giving OKR a sniff here, really. And that's the difference then. This is the 10th year. This is the next generation of players that have come through, the next level of coaching that's been applied, and it's a very good side to watch.
Joe Wardell's definitely got a problem there. Just made that run. There he is. The Beverley Brave he was early in his career. Played for the local amateur club. The age of 6. There's his tackle, and that dressing comes off. That's where he got the gash on his head on Thursday night at the Hallowell Jones Stadium. And he's having to be brave. There's nobody else out there, really.
It was a good performance, wasn't it, by the England under-19s?
James Green. Here's Budebsa. Maurice Blair. Quick hands. Very quick hands. Here's Wardell once again and seeing lots of action.
Marsh is having some nice touches.
Rovers coming from deep. Kelly, but Dupont gets a hold of him.
They've kept him quiet, haven't they? Really done a number on him.
Budebsa. Here's Greenwood now, comes back in field. Oh, and Greenwood trying to offload, but comes up for Anthony Maria.
It's not a bad place to turn the ball over. Let's start with the positive. There wasn't a supporting runner in the space where he threw the ball. Managed to get the offload away. James Greenwood trying to change the rhythm of this game, trying to break the cycle up. But Catalan are quite happy. They're in front on the scoreboard. 22 points to the good. They don't need to score again. But the Rovers, they need to try something. And over the halfway, over the 20-metre line, you can probably forgive them for that mistake.
40-20 effort, it is. Just doesn't have the legs. Marsh back to retrieve it. Rovers aiming for their first win in Perpignan since September 2011, just in Morgan's time, when they won 30 points to 28 in Perpignan. They did win away against Catalan in 2013, 22-21. Played in Toulouse, a very stormy afternoon that was, not meteorologically speaking, but just what happened on the pitch. Some contentious decisions, but Rovers came away with the victory. They're going to have to go some to repeat that sort of performance. But at least they haven't shipped any more points so far in this second half.
Dragons look very comfortable defensively. Whenever the ball's been moved, it's been passed from one player to another, there's a solid Catalan defensive line to meet them.
Kelly puts the kick in. Cat and mouse at the moment, really, isn't it?
There's that kick again, Barry. You were talking about that in the first 40 minutes. The kick purposely long. You can tell the force of the impact on Matty Marsh a couple of minutes ago. The strapping is still there.
They're fascinated by that.
They like stuff like that.
Distracted, I think.
They like stuff like that. Yeah,
obviously a fan of medical dramas.
What would it be called in France?
Hospital.
Le Hospital.
Here is Le Monstre.
What's casualty in French?
Probably casualty. Dave Taylor tackled. Here is another monster, Julien Bousquet. Thomas Bosque, faithful servant to the Catalan course. Oh, Lucas Albert, what lovely skill from a 70. Oh, what a shame. He can't take the ball. And I'm not so sure Lucas Albert needed to do that.
What a shame. It almost looked like if he'd kept hold of it. Lovely show and go from the man. Fools Budebza, his countryman. If he keeps hold of that ball, obviously, on this angle, there's a Hulkiar defender.
And as he gets more used to the players he's playing with, when he cuts back towards the right side of that field, you'll see in the backfield Jody Broughton there. It's not an easy ball to find, but you know you've got a quality finisher on your outside. He's a young lad, he's inexperienced, he's got the call from a senior player for the pass back on the inside. I think in time you might want to reassess that, but there's some signs, there's some really positive signs there that this homegrown talent is they've got a real pool to choose from, to pick from.
Yeah, Baitieri, maybe the pass was heading behind him, but he certainly called for it. And Albert, knowing that his seniors wanted the ball.
Well, why wouldn't you? But that's the challenge for a young, inexperienced halfback. It's a position on the field where you have almost got to belie your inexperience and your years.
Absolutely, the best ones I've played with. It didn't matter whether they were 18 or 32. They told you what to do as a big fella in the middle. The times I've been screamed at and shouted at by an 18-year-old kid who's gone on to have a tremendous career. And some good stuff, some good signs, and he'll learn and get better.
And that'll come for him. In the meantime, yet another kick. That one's got much better range and a decent kick chase as well from Maurice Blair. Tony Gigot pinned down. This is the opportunity to grab a foothold in the game. The game's not gone completely yet, but this needs to be a really solid set in defence.
12 minutes of the second half gone, and Catalan haven't been able to post a point so far.
And that will have been spoken about. The Dragons, after last week and the mistakes that they made as they struggled to get him down, they'll have said, as long as Hulkiar are being as defiant and trying to keep themselves in this game, we'll stick with them and we'll wait for them to make the mistake. It's a who blinks first contest.
Dave Taylor looking there just a moment ago at the Rovers defenders as they were annoying. That's a knock on. That's great defence, this set of 6 from Hull Kingston Rovers, discomfiting the Catalan Dragons.
Joe Greenwood, who's been all over this pitch, he's hit hard when it's come time to defend. He's run strong, and he's got a bit of red sweat coming down from his nose at the minute for his troubles.
These are the periods of play and the efforts that go in when you're trying to keep tabs on a side that's in front of you. They're actually building to become really key moments in the game. The problem for Hull KR now is they've got to find what they have shown only once this afternoon in their ability to cross the line, because that scoreline has to be chipped away at, and they have to start doing it soon.
It only endorses what I said about what's more important: good attack, good defence. They're building this on good defence. It's on a solid foundation. They have to ask more questions when they've got the ball, but they've earned the right with good defence.
We haven't heard from the video ref all afternoon.
Hallelujah.
Ben Thaler, I think, has got the gig in Perpignan, and he's had a quiet afternoon so far.
Do you know what I said, El? Bien. Bien, we haven't heard from the video ref.
It's not been, in fairness, there's not been too much to discuss, has there? Everything's been fairly clear cut, and that's probably more damning of the Hull KR defence. As much as we've been saying that it's improved over the last 10 or 12 minutes, it was found wanting on more than 3 or 4 occasions in that first half. And some relatively easy scores for the Catalan Dragons.
Greenwood's going to have to leave the field by the look of things.
For a nosebleed.
You can't stop it. James Child stopping the clock while Rovers get themselves sorted out. James Webster, well, there's the brains trust.
There's some experience there, isn't there? Obviously Jamie Peacock, in terms of the game structure and the coaching of the side, not too much.
But Willie Poaching in the
Willie Poaching's been around our game a long time and could trade quite comfortably with Michael Monaghan.
But the flip side, you just got that shot of Michael Monaghan there. I think he's been a really significant acquisition for the Catalan Dragons.
Well, Monaghan and Poaching, both Warrington coaching old boys, of course, and in different directions. Rovers in possession. Can they get the first points of the second half? John Budebza, another French international out there, involved in this build-up. Here's another one, Kevin Laroyer.
The play looking a little dimensional. There was a slip at the start of that play. That was the planned, that was the money play. Play 3 was where they were going to go through the hands. A slip at the point of the play, the ball. But you feel that anything here is going to come from Maurice Blair or Albert Kelly.
Well, it's Tills who gets the pass away to Sean Lunt. Lunt over the top to Clarkson. Clarkson over the top. And now Kelly. Kelly is tackled. 5 gone so far, this set of 6. And here is Maurice Blair. Puts a little grubber kick in. That's going to be too strong. Carney nonchalantly watches that one go dead. And they'll bring it back to the 20 and attempt to get a quick restart.
Okay. I've got a plethora of pivots on at the minute. Sean Lunt's on, John Budebza's on, Albert Kelly, Maurice Blair, so they've plenty of craft. I need somebody to run onto the ball.
Making sure that Jason Baitieri doesn't make any progress, and the feisty little loose forward didn't like that. Is Gigot, always appealing. He's lost the ball again, Tony Gigot, and Albert Kelly has snapped it up. And Rovers looking to profit from Catalan errors. It's with Lunt, Budebza.
2 move. Come on, back up. Come on, Louis.
About 15 metres out. And here is Kelly. CO. He's tackled just short. There's Budebza, how he'd love to score a try here. He fancies it. They could be in here, but again, it's good Catalan defence.
Solid defence.
I think it was Clarkson who was tackled just short of the try line. Kelly dummies.
Great defence, better defence.
That's even better. You Dupont and Albert in the edges, and then Glenn Stewart following up 10 metres out of OKR there.
Little grubber kick comes in, and it's well fielded, and it's Carney doing the sweeping up for the Catalan Dragons.
And we're getting some good shots of the shape of OKR when they're in good ball. They're spreading the pitch well.
Is that what you call it?
It's shape. It's not necessarily relevant shots, but it's good shots. To see what everybody's doing, as I said, the pivots on the pitch, the people who are prepared to pass the ball. There's a lot of them on the pitch at the minute. He probably needs somebody to run hell for leather onto it and create some chaos.
Well, what's not been able to happen, because the Catalan Dragons have dominated the run, there's been no ability or no time for a half-back to get the line and make a defender, make someone from that Catalan Dragons defensive line bite or come out of position. At that point, you have a straight runner, you have a full-back out the back, you start to cause some problems. You're playing behind the ball and playing before the line. It's a competent enough defensive line that the Dragons have got, and a well-drilled enough defensive line that they can cope with most of the things that KR are throwing at them at the moment.
Clarkson trying to get away from the clutches of Pat Richards, gets the pass off to Kencio. And Hull Kingston Rovers doing well in this second half in terms of restricting Catalan's progress. Score as it was when we resumed, 28 points to 6. So in that respect, Hull Kingston Rovers improving. That's the 5th tackle though, and they were only just over the halfway line. It's with Kelly. Kelly hoists the kick.
It's a spiral bomb, is this?
Nobody interested in it. And it's Vince Dupont who is there, well positioned to catch the bouncing ball.
I mean, they are sometimes uncatchable. If you catch that right as a kicker, I'm not saying you would never have a go at it, but they are very, very difficult to read.
And he got in position there. Albert Kelly seemed to be rushing to get that kick.
Jody Broughton, who got the scoring underway with that early try, but hasn't really had a touch since then. Little run from him. Catalan facing an away trip to Leeds for their next game. Casti, well, that was a silly daft tackle.
Scratch his chin.
You're saying about 15 minutes, a quarter of an hour of the second half gone, and Hull KR have done a good job because it's just a little.
What's that one?
It's like a French headlock. I don't know.
Chin lock.
And you say you credit Hull KR for that, but I take a slightly different view and say that the Catalan Dragons, we come back to this being a patient side, a side that's willing to wait for its points. They're not giving up points themselves. They look incredibly comfortable. They look very efficient in terms of the amount of energy that they're expending in defence. And it wouldn't surprise me at all that if we came away from this set with more points on the board for the Dragons.
It's an outrageous suggestion. Here's Jason Baitieri. He could have had some points a few moments ago if he'd taken that pass from Lucas Albert. It's not really his bag though. Bosk. Albert it is. Glenn Stewart, and Carney burst through the first tackle. Surprised himself, I think, Todd Carney did with that. And there's a bang for Thornley.
I think there's a few people who might want a couple of minutes just to gather their thoughts. Was it Joe Wardell who came in from the...
He came and he tried to shut the player down, and Todd Carney was able to ride. He did enough to stop the progress, but not necessarily stop the player. He comes in.
That's a good read, actually.
Hits him in the ribs, and Todd Carney keeps his feet. And there is a bit of...
That counts as a win, though, for Hull KR.
Yeah.
You've got a ball player there in some space. That absolutely needed to be... That line and that angle, that wedge from young Joe Wardell needed to be made. It's did enough to stop the play, did enough to throw him off, and Todd Carney sucking in the big ones because he must have hit him right underneath the ribs there.
Well, he's still able to smile about it. Former Dally M winner, Todd Carney. Very effective this season. Here's Casti now. He's over the try line, but he's on his back.
Like a big Arctic lorry reversing. When they cast it, he's dealt with to a point by Hull KR. All they did is make sure that the ball could not touch the ground. Budebza.
Ball over the top, finds Pat Richards. Richards going backwards and then looking to straighten things up. Then finds Glenn Stewart, and Stewart spins. Thornley back on his feet, able to make the tackle. Pelissier is back on. Little kick ahead from Horro, but it's too strong and Broughton couldn't get there.
He manufactured the kick there because I think that was a mistake, a handling error. The ball came short side from Bosk, onto the toe, just a little bit too much on it.
So, Catalan again denied, coming up to the hour mark. 28 points to 6.
The deeper you get into this season, and the longer you look at that Super League table, as the Catalan Dragons are penalised, it's an easier pressure release valve for Hull KR here.
I think that's only the third penalty the Dragons have given away, incidentally, so their discipline's been reasonably good.
The longer that the Catalan Dragons stay at that end of the table, at what point does this discussion start between the likes of Michael Monaghan and Laurent Fresneau saying there are periods in these games that have gone, we've not been ruthless enough, we've not been clinical enough, and that last period of play down in the Hull KR try line is probably a good example of that. Not clinical enough, not to win a grand final.
And it's given Rovers an opportunity to look for their second try of the game, maybe. Only that try and a goal for them so far. That was in the first half.
Well, no points in the second half. They've gone into the last quarter of this match. Morally, they're doing okay. In terms of the game, they've denied Catalan a couple of times. They probably need to ask more questions when they've got hold of the ball.
Thornley, he's had a strong game for this Rovers side. Tilts on the tilt for that one, but tackled just as he got the ball. Here's Kelly now. Kelly, opportunities here. Clarkson it was. Paul could have been penalised there. Sean Lunt certainly thought so. Kelly puts little grubber kick in, and Carney safety first.
Sean Lunt, I admire his game. The quality of that pass to Albert Kelly means he can catch it out in front. He knows what he wants to do in terms of his technique while he's kicking that ball. And players, when they try and get it in the in goal, they want it to roll and spend as much time in the in goal rolling and staying in play, and it was a good chase, and Todd Carney was just grateful to get the ball off the island.
Impressed with Hull Kingston Rovers this second half. They've kept Catalans at bay. They've forced a goal line dropout there. Into the final quarter. Who knows? Kensio's lost that ball.
That's a penalty. Vincent Duport stripped it. Was the
one-on-one steal, but I think forward. This probably should be Hull KR's ball, shouldn't it? Scrum.
Well,
you're right. Sacre bleu.
I'll give you that one, Monty. I'll give you that.
I had a 50-50 shot of getting it right, too.
He's been quiet, Kensio, hasn't he? And what they've done is Marsh and Seo, they've rotated, spent a bit of time at fullback, a bit of time on the wing. Many teams do that, where they keep changing players, so oppositions don't know what to expect.
Thornley.
It can also be counterproductive, though, can't it? I mean, if you don't quite know what your role is at a key time.
Here is Dane Tilse now. Well, the Rovers try, and a goal. Cut the deficit and maybe just unsettle Catalan, and we've seen already this season in a couple of occasions they don't like being unsettled, and they could be here into the corner. And Joe Wardell, what a weekend he's having. Gets the try in the corner, his first for the side. England Academy last night in Warrington, and now Hull Kingston Rovers in Super League, and he's on the scoreboard.
Good shape from Robbins, as you see the ball move from the middle to the edge, and it's Maurice Blair who gives an early ball to the Frenchman, who skips across. And you're right, Joe Wardell, he had 4 or 5 metres to catch the defender that was trying to deny him the try and put the ball down over the white stripe. Jody Broughton, and those fans know that the team are still in with a shout in this game. Come on, he says.
Travelling support, the travelling army of Hull KR fans. We get to see.
They like Joe Wardell, don't they?
Well, they've been waiting for Joe Wardell to score a try, just so they could run that footage again and it not be irrelevant.
It's like French farce.
That's right.
Look how his head bandage comes off. Oh, sacre bleu.
He's done very well, though, hasn't he? And I think anybody who was in Warrington at the Halliwell Jones on Thursday.
Look at that young man. He's thrilled to bits. Look at the excitement on his face.
So the chance for Kensio to reduce the arrears a little further. It was a nice in and away from Larayer, wasn't it? Managed to engage Horrow, one of the better defensive back rows in the game, and just turn his hips in ever so slightly.
Kensio, just a couple of goals to his name this season, but of course Josh Montelato out of the reckoning still. This one drifting in, but just across the face of the post. 28 points to 10, the scoreline in Perpignan.
This is the line, just getting out and engaging Horrow there. And then Thornley, he was almost like to stop that for us, that was brilliant. And then Thornley gets enough time to ball play and pass it on. Joe Wardell, he'll be disappointed the way this is going, but I think very happy with his own contribution. I think a couple of shots in defence, the one with which the French TV pictures will not let us forget, plus the shot from Carney, then the try. He's had an impressive game.
It's 4-0, the second half is 4-0 in favour of the Rovers, and they've done the basics well as they nearly drop it.
Matty Marsh and Dane Tilse almost get themselves in a tangle there. Well, hats off and bandages off to Joe Wardell then for his performance in this one.
I think we're talking a bit too much about the bandage. Let's move on from the bandage.
I think we might be being influenced by a director who can't seem to get over that.
Move, Lucas! Get square!
Probably need some support in that.
A strange bunch, aren't they, the television directors?
Oh, Jason, move!
28 points to 10. Rovers giving those travelling supporters plenty to cheer about in this second half.
Help! Bang!
Adam Walker plays the ball. Budebza, Kelly drills the kick downfield again.
That's a good kick.
That's a great kick. Gigot across to field it. He's so nonchalant, Gigot. The ball held in one hand there. You're fielding that ball. I mean, surely I am complete novice at this, but surely that's madness.
You choose your words carefully as well. Nonchalant.
Well,
It is. It's his style of play, and what that does do, I mean, obviously it gives coaches pause for thought, but it also means that if you are confident enough in your ability to do that, it does put a defender in two minds there. There's always the possibility of him getting the pass away and embarrassing you as a defender.
Good set defensively for Rovers, and Carney gets the kick away under pressure, and grimace from him as he was hit.
Excellent set, both in attack and defence from those points. The confidence that they've gained, they've got a little bit of belief now, the Rovers, even though they're behind on the scoreboard. They might well, and we're not privy to the half-time comments and the information from the coaches like we are on a normal match, but I'm guessing that James Webster has said, look lads, just go out second half, see what you can do, but don't give up, and that's certainly what they've done.
Well, they showed plenty, and in their coach's words, they keep turning up and playing their hearts out, is what he said after the Derby game in Newcastle last weekend when they lost ultimately. James Webster saying that you can't fault his side's commitment and character, and they've shown it again in this one. 28-6 down, they're winning the second half. I mean, that counts for nothing unless you come out the other end of the second half.
But it can have
victory.
an influence on the week after. If you win the second half of your game, it can have an influence, and the feeling and the vibe of training is just that little bit better and more positive.
I'd agree with that if we were in round 6, but we're not. We're in round 16, and they're running out of games now, Barry, before the mid-lates come looming. That conversation is something that you would get fans on side with 10 weeks ago. They're running out of time now.
Well, and they play Wakefield next week. If they can pick that victory up like we've talked about, they can really start to challenge. They're getting at 8th, and I think that's mission accomplished.
But have you seen enough here today to suggest they can...
In the second half?
They might, and they'll have Terry Campese back, by all accounts. It's not for certain, but here is Jason Bacchieri for the Catalan Dragons, maybe thinking that it's about time we just put these pesky Robins back in their place, because they're beginning to be a bit of a nuisance. Kingston Rovers. Louis Anderson plays the ball. Lucas Albert puts the kick in. Pounced on, and it might still be pounced on by Gigo. Horo couldn't.
I think we might be going to the video ref.
Ben Thaler, wake up!
Yes.
I have a feeling Horo may have gone dead here.
It was a lovely kick, weren't it, from the half-back?
It looked like it had too much on it for a second.
Yeah, that bending banana kick that comes back. It looks like it's going to go out of the field of play. Comes back in. We've missed the kick, but we're looking at the chase. Horo.
Now then, we've got a genuine referral here. Nothing.
Yeah, foot's on the line there.
Really? Oh, you're back with me. Bill.
No try.
James Charles in a good position there.
Now, what was the referral? Did it go up as try, or
we didn't see?
Because I think at the point at which his hand touches the ball, he's got his foot back off the whitewash. So he's now in contact with the dead ball line.
I'm going to say no try.
Right.
It's Justin Horo's feet we're looking at. Does he touch the ball at this point?
Where is the ball?
Spot the ball.
Right, the ball's about to come out of the air. Not now then. If he's made contact with the dead ball line, but not put his foot back in play, is he considered to be dead then by the time he touches this ball?
No, I don't think Dawn said that. You know he'll be watching this, saying, I told you they need me. I think you're right. I haven't thought about that point.
Yeah, so he's not put that rear foot.
Yeah.
The foot that's planted on the dead ball line now would make him dead, and he's not replanted that foot back in the field of play before he's made contact with the ball. So arguably, he's dead here.
Well, we've had a message from Stuart Cummings who says it's a try.
He's paying attention.
He is.
Right. Well, in which case then the interpretation is he's not gone dead. That doesn't make him dead. He's got his foot back off the line, crucially, and now they're looking at the grounding.
And offside.
That's a great kick. I love the quality of that kick.
Horo
think you're right. I think the right foot that slips.
We had 2 goes of this.
Has it gone backwards?
But now the foot is off the floor.
Yeah, that's a great point, Wells. Yeah, I'm going to go try. I told you it was a try.
And then does Gigo get down with pressure on it? Yes, he does. And Ben Taylor.
There's only one question to ask now, and what was this referred up to? We never got the shot of that. Whether he's had to overrule the decision or not.
What will the call be? Have Catalan got the try? They have. Their first of the second half by the skin of their teeth. And it's Tony Gigo who gets it, his second of the game. All smiles on the sidelines. A little bit relieved as well, I should think. And Hull Kingston Rovers can feel hard done by there, because that was a very close call, but it was a try, and they can put it down to the athleticism of Justin Horro.
And that's where I love the video referee, where there is that doubt and conjecture, and it's a genuine referral, as you indicated, John. And we're not messing about on is it or isn't it. There's a decision to be made. Most of the time that we go, I'm sometimes watching it thinking that's a dead set try, or it's not a try.
Yeah, you don't like to see them wasting time with it, but I think for cases like that, where to the naked eye the thought was that Horro had certainly gone dead, and then you get to see close up and in slow motion, and very often frame by frame, you get to see the skill of these players that are applying the trade here.
Pat Richards with this conversion attempt, surely 2 more points for him and for the Catalan Dragons. 34 points to 10 the scoreline in Perpignan. This mini fight back from Rovers seems to have been put to bed.
The second half belongs to the Rovers, but that's just class, some endeavour and a refusal to not give up on players. That's a good lesson to anybody watching. Tony Gigo, he's not certain, he's not sure, but he plays to the whistle. He doesn't give up on the play, and Justin Horro did a tremendous job.
We were talking about the importance of Hull Kingston Rovers' trip to Wakefield, a game you can see on Sky Sports on Thursday night. Kelly, that ball was knocked on into his path though. Wakefield against Hull Kingston Rovers Thursday night on Sky Sports. Then Rovers have got home games, a home game against Wigan in round 18, away to St Helens in round 19. Just shows how important that Wakefield game is in terms of, let's be realistic about this, folks. Where are we going to get the points that we need to get into the top 8?
On their day, in what has turned into an absolutely crazy 2016 season, any team can beat any other team on any given day. But I think when you look at Ulster's performances in isolation, I personally think their performance in defeat against Hull FC last week at Magic was one of the better ones I've seen this season.
What about Catalan? They have got a tough run coming up. They've got Leeds away. Leeds are going to win at some point. And then home to St Helens and away to Warrington in round 19.
Play stopped. There's a little bit of an injury to Busquets. I think he's been mightily impressive. He's had to spend plenty of time coming off the bench.
He was a bit of a wild card. He had 1 or 2 disciplinary problems when he was getting into the side, and
remember he went through a spell of hitting half late.
Exactly. He wasn't channeling his physique in the right direction.
But he seems to have knuckled down.
Knuckled, nice choice.
And it's just a late challenge in the back by Greenwood. They can be awkward.
And what a player of that size and that power does is he commits defenders. So there's already 3 of them involved. And the 4th one, Rob Mulhern, looks at it, thinks, no, I'm better off getting back in the line. But that chaotic, was it one of those
on reports,
low tackles, one of those?
Yeah, there was somebody down low.
So he was coming in from behind the player and attacking. It's behind the knees as opposed to at the side of the knees or front on. So not the same potential for damage as coming in from the side, but enough obviously for James Child to want the referee's panel to have a look at that.
Carney, here's Glenn Stewart, Donaldson. no respecter of reputations, the former Bradford Bull, James Donaldson. Good to see him back in action as well. The kick is hoisted by Carney, and Kensio has time underneath that one.
Unusually had time underneath that one because it was a well-weighted kick, and it almost looked like the Catalan Dragons gave up on the chase. Whether they were called offside or not, I don't know, but it's the Rovers who need to work their way out of this red zone, get down the other end of the pitch.
You make reference, I think you make reference to the Catalan Dragons run, Bill, over the next few weeks. That's why these points difference, the 24 points that they've added into the plus total, or in the positive difference column, they could be really meaningful at the end of the season.
Sorry, Don Kelly's gone for what looked like a 40-20 effort, but didn't have the legs. Jody Broughton. So should they be being a bit more ruthless?
You give credit to Hulkaya then, don't you, for refusing to lie down. But yeah, I do. I think they've got to take those points within games when they can, because this is a really congested-looking top 4 or 5 places in the table.
And that's the edge that you talked about right at the start of this game. They need to be ruthless. They need to make sure that once they've got teams dead in the water, they really make sure they take advantage of that.
If you want to look, if you buy into what everybody's saying, and that this is a side capable of challenging for a grand final, then they have to show that side.
Carney, who certainly would be a key man if that's the what awaits the Catalan Dragons, and his fitness, of course, is crucial as well. And he, as we've been saying, he's having his best run in the side.
It was an arty shot, that one, Bill. We had a look at the weather for a second. Looked overcast, actually.
Overcast. Certainly not the problem they've got in Blackpool. Lovely evening for the summer bash, the late running summer bash, because of the traffic problems that one or two teams have had getting to the venue. Problems they've got in France, they're running out of petrol. But no sign of the Catalan Dragons running out of gas in this one.
Well done, Bill.
Clarkson, quick hands, but Richards right up to close Kensio down. See how comfortable it was for them. No one's playing the ball. It was lovely hands, but no one's playing those balls at the line or committing any defenders.
It's very lateral, very lateral. There's not been much punch, and I made reference to it about 10 or 15 minutes ago, how many pivots were on, how many passes of the ball were on without too many people being on the end of it.
Gigot claims that ball, and he's always looking, and just like Morgan Escaré, the man he's replaced, he's always looking for something on the counter, isn't he? Jody Broughton.
It's a really positive attribute to have that, because in my view you have defensive-minded fullbacks and coaches who want defensive-minded fullbacks, and then you get attacking fullbacks who do a little bit of defence every now and again. I think Tony Gigot certainly fits into that category, but what he offers you on the front foot is phenomenal at times.
Here's Glenn Stewart. What an acquisition he has been, ever present since he arrived at the Catalan Dragons, regularly tops the tackle count. He went into this game with 550 tackles to his name as Kensio returns that ball for Rovers.
Bill, I think he's got to be on the list. We're too early to be discussing lists and contenders, but we're
going to do it.
But I think he's right up there, Glenn Stewart, and those people who know what they're watching when they watch a game of rugby league really admire and respect what he does.
That was high from Louis Anderson. Amazing to think that Vinnie Anderson is still in action.
37, 38, is he?
He's played in France as well.
Yeah, he's played for Carcassonne in the French Cup.
They were beaten finalists in the Cup
by Limoux. It sounded like a great game. 24-26 it was in the French Championship final. It was last weekend. And Limoux just shading that one against Carcassonne, and Vinny was involved in that.
He was on the bench and came on and made an impact as he does. And the Andersons, they've given a lot of service to our game, whether it's in the Super League or over in the French League.
Fraser's not in France as well, is he? The other one?
Fraser Anderson, I don't believe he is.
Must be something about the country that they like, though. Here come Hull Kingston Rovers looking for some consolation points at the end of the game, but that offload is snapped up, and Casti, well, he's not going to go the length of the field, Remy Casti, but he'll give it a damn good go.
Yeah, There are some players, when they break the line, they look for somebody to beat, and there are some players that look for somebody to pass to or to tackle them.
Carney is tackled.
Hold the 10 metres.
34 points to 10 into the final 5 minutes at the Stade Gilbert Brutus. So Catalan disappointed in Newcastle last weekend, getting back to winning ways, and Rovers, well, disappointing run of form for them. And here they are with Broughton. Oh, Broughton gets the ball back in, but it's Joe Wardell who picks it up for the Robins.
Glenn Stewart again puts a beautiful kick in. It's quite a return from Joe Wardell, who had to collect the ball and get out. He's made almost 30 metres in that return.
He's made a hugely positive contribution today, not least to the director's little bank of shots he's got for his highlight reel, but I think he's acquitted himself extremely well. I'd venture to say, I don't know too much about him, I'd venture to say wing's not his primary position.
No, it's not, he's a centre.
But they, as so often, so many careers start out there on the wing. He's acquitted himself very well. And starting out on the wing, by the way, is not what it used to be 10 years ago. It's a very technical position these days. He's done very well. His positioning there showed he was excellent. And then, despite what's happening at the other end of the field with yet another Hull KR error, I think he's one man who can hold his head up high.
There's that kick. It's lovely deft skills. Jody Broughton bangs it back in. And look at the work Wardell's got to do.
But it's this way now going forward where, you know, he's taken 20 metres there out of the Catalan Dragons.
You're right. I think winger nowadays is a very technical position. There's a lot of work involved. It's not like 10 years ago when they were just too busy putting the lip gloss on, chatting to the crowd.
You would have a go, eh?
Anybody who played on the wing, if I'm honest, John. Specifically you at the minute, but it could be anybody in general.
Catalan with Vincent Dupont, and Dupont just skirting around the outside. Oh, showing all his tricks now, Big Vince. Eventually Kelly stops his progress. Louis Anderson.
Oh, that's a great line. Good defence, great defence.
Busquets lost it though.
It's Sean Lunt who's forced the error. It was you could see the line developing, and Busquets hit that. But the fearless defence of Sean Lunt.
Chopped him in half, didn't he, Sean Lunt? You watch, it's a strong, hard line, very brave line, good shot.
He's got his head in the right place, got his shoulders low, textbook stuff there from the hooker.
That's on the list. That's on the list for the big hits, Gazantez, midweek special, Bernard Gouache. Well, I think he's happy with the points, I don't think he's content with the performance.
Well, isn't that something in itself? You know, you get the chairman of a club sitting there with a long face. I mean, you've got a side that's beating, you know, a competitive Super League team by 24 points, and you're not happy. That's a sign of their expectation, the level of expectation on this Catalan Dragons side this year.
Christophe Jouffre just behind him, one of the Catalan Dragons, and I think his son Louis was involved in the summer bash for Whitehaven. And Hugo Perez, another Catalan player, joining Haven. Get some experience. It's a good tie-up those two clubs have got, and they've got some talented young players, and we've seen one of them in this game, young Lucas Albert, who's has scored a try, has made a try, and so Gigot lost that, and look at that from James Donaldson. That's great. There's last minute in the game, and Donaldson's saying, "Come on, let's pack this scrum."
Regardless of what happens from this play, and this is obviously a Catalan win, but this will go down as the solid but not spectacular. I think for the Catalan Dragons, a B+ could do better because of the level of expectation on this team this year.
Just the Super League sats. Please not.
B+ could do better. I got a lot of could do betters. I never got a B+.
Well, it's head and feet to Hull Kingston Rovers, who've really matched their French opponents in this second half. It's a try apiece as far as this second half goes. Can Rovers shade it in that respect? They might do, they will do, and Kensio gets over for the last word in this game in Perpignan. The closing seconds, and Kensio forced his way over Catalans defence just backing off.
Just look at the work he has to do. He comes from virtually behind the play of the ball. He's trying to disguise his threat by being on the inside shoulder of Albert Kelly, and he pops up at the last minute. It's the young halfback Lucas Albert who doesn't know what to do. His centre is moving out, Vincent Dupont, and they finish with the final points. I think they've done pretty well.
If anybody wants a coaching one-on-one there on ball playing in attack, you see Kencio kept that in two hands the entire way he was going to the line. He keeps the defence in two minds. You could see the effect that it had on Vincent Dupont, and they've got over for what is a consolation try, but a well-taken one nonetheless.
Can Albert Kelly conclude this game? The hooter is gone, so this will be the final kick of the game. Can he add 2 more points for Hull Kingston Rovers? It looks good. He's done just that. 34-16. Final score in Perpignan, and no consolation for Hull Kingston Rovers, but they've won this second half by 2 tries to 1. Wardhill and Seo, the try scorers, and Kelly converting the very last kick of the game. 34-16. Catalans take the points in the hunt still for top spot.